Listen, I'm just a simple country boy with big time city work experience and military travel, at heart. But I like to stay busy. And what prompted me to write the book is that I noticed many associates and many employees in corporate America do not have a voice. And through my travels and through my time in management, often I hear them complain how they don't have a voice. It seems like management is not listening to what they have to say. So I decided to write a book called The Art of Leadership that explains basic core principles to be successful as a leader, but also from a point of view to where it is explained from an employee's standpoint. So I wanted to get their word. I wanted them to have a voice.
That's a very
I call
interesting.
it, what is the difference between a boss and a leader? Because we have a lot of bosses. The difference is this. When you're a boss, you do things to make yourself successful. But when you're a leader, you do things to make others successful. Bosses want to be successful. Leaders want to be significant.
And the book is entitled The Art of Leadership. Put me in the game, coach.
Put me in the game, coach.
You know, I have a supervisor that comes in there, and she makes all the big bucks, has no clue about what's going on. And it seems like when you try to voice your opinion, it's met with, disdain. They don't want to listen. I know everything. I'm the boss. I make the big bucks, and you do what I say.
Well, you just answered it. They are the boss. They're not a leader. They are a boss. And bosses will do that. Bosses like to control through manipulation and intimidation. Leaders inspire and motivate. So a boss will tell you what to do. A leader will show you how to do it. And that is the big difference, and people don't understand that. So when I use the terminology boss, it's not flattering. It's not. Because if I call you a leader, it's flattering. In the Marine Corps, when I went through officer candidate school, we used to use the phrase, it's Latin, we'll say ductus exemplo, and it's Latin for leadership by example. And that is the difference. And in my book, I talk about 6 leadership principles. I call them 6 leadership rules that help you to be successful in the leadership. So by writing this book, I'm laying out 6 principles to where employees and employers can share with both management staff and employees so they can understand. So it's opening up a dialogue. So what employees are afraid to say to a leader or to a boss, that book says it for you. As a leader, you must recognize successes and you must recognize failures. But if you're going to praise someone, do it in public. If they're doing a great job, make sure that you compliment them in the presence of other employees and the customer. It will motivate them, but it would also motivate other employees to step up their game. However, if there's an error and you need to discipline them, do that in private. You never want to embarrass your employees in front of other people. Because when you embarrass one employee, you're embarrassing all employees. And if you embarrass one customer, you're embarrassing every customer that was present to see that.
The Art of Leadership. If you're just joining us, we have motivational speaker Mr. Lonnie Bridges. Sexual harassment. That surprised me, but you've been talking about this for years. And, we've been hearing this in the news lately over and over again. You have a training associated with your leadership course about sexual misconduct in the workplace.
Well, absolutely. As you know, I was in the hospitality industry for 18 years as a vice president, as a casino executive. So one of the things I specialized in was leadership training, but also human resource employment law training. And one of the biggest is preventing sexual harassment. See, I don't teach a sexual harassment class. I teach preventing sexual harassment.
And what are some of the things that you tell people?
Well, what I do, especially if supervisors and managers, when you're in a position of authority, you have a higher level of responsibility. Whenever you're in command and in charge of other people, you are not only responsible for their actions, but most importantly, you are responsible for your actions. So we let them know that when you are a supervisor, by law, there is authority that you have. And when you act or you do not act, you represent the company. So when a supervisory person is not aware of the law and the actions, or they allow something to happen that is sexual harassment or discriminations, they put the company at liability. And that's something that we have to talk about, because right now people think that, well, you should know better. No, whenever you have a supervisor in a company, that company's leadership is responsible for what they know. People will tease and not know that their actions and words are offensive. But through teaching sexual harassment, you let people to know that if someone says something or does something that make you feel uncomfortable, you have the right to tell them, please don't say that, please don't do that, it makes me feel uncomfortable. 9 out of 10 times when you do that, it will cease. But if it doesn't cease, you need to know your law and you need to report that to your supervisor or your human resources department. So it has to do with morality and morals and values. And a lot of that stuff, when leadership is not present, but bosses may be present, because again, bosses are selfish. They want to do what's pleasing to them, where a leader will prevent this from happening. They will protect their people.
And they must have the mindset that nobody can stop me.
Well, if you do something long enough and you're not called out on it, you think that it's okay. If you think you can get away with it, they're going to try to get away with it. But right now, because it's so prevalent, and it's not that it's so prevalent, it's been happening, but now people are speaking up. So people are getting nervous.
Some of these old movie stars and some of these old politicians can tell some real stories.
Well, there are some nervous people right now.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of nervous politicians, a lot of nervous entertainers, a lot of nervous bosses.
Right.
Because at any time, something can come out and it's just going to be a hailstorm.
We're talking about The Art of Leadership. It's a book written by my guest, Lonnie Bridges. Lonnie Bridges is...
What you have to do from a leadership standpoint is you have to stay above the fray. You have to set the example. I believe in leadership by example. You know, most people will follow the tone of the boss. If they do it, then I'm going to do it because I want to fit in. No, if it's right, you do it. If it's wrong, you avoid it. You have to set that example. And sometimes you have to lead up. You have to lead up. You have to manage the people who are over you in authority.